World is so crowded, why is a person so lonely? In fact, the answer to this question is very simple. If you follow any sport, you've probably seen that the middle ranks are crowded, while the peak race is quieter. If you've watched any marathon, you've seen that as the runner advances, they become more isolated. As you climb higher, you become more alone, meaning that as you specialize, you start to move away from others who are normal, average. Let's imagine an ant living in a village, gathering with neighbors, talking a bit about food. Then, let's say this ant goes to Italy for gourmet cooking training, stays in Italy for 2 years, and when she returns, can she continue the same food conversations with the same friends in her neighborhood? I think not, because she has specialized. Now, she can't speak the same language with everyone. As she can't speak the same language with everyone, and because the number of people who understand her is very few, she starts to distance herself a bit from that environment. The more awareness increases, the more a person begins to distance themselves from that environment, becoming lonely. Because they can't find like-minded friends, most people around them speak things that seem meaningless or empty to someone who has specialized, whose awareness has risen. Therefore, I can express the first sentence I established as, if you accept a question like yes-no, the answer will always be yes. Because being able to ask yourself this question already requires awareness, so people with high awareness can ask themselves this question to become lonely. Yes, it will happen. Because you can ask yourself such questions to share your awareness. A person with high awareness begins to question. A normal person rarely asks deep questions about themselves or life, and rarely encounters such questions. Let's not confuse popularity with loneliness in the meantime, friends. We have far more friends than some of the world's most popular figures, such as Bill Gates or Elon Musk. Each of us, unlike Steve Jobs who had only 4 work colleagues throughout his life, may not have had proper friends. Loneliness does not mean that there are no people around. People feel lonely when they cannot convey the things that matter to them to others, or when they hold certain opinions that they cannot share. Now, the question may arise, is loneliness what increases a person's awareness, or do we become lonely as awareness increases? I came across a similar question when I was 16 while jotting down a few lines in my diary. Friends, I will read a few lines shortly. From there, with my current mindset, I can clearly say that loneliness is definitely the second stage, meaning it is caused by awareness. Of course, this opens up the topic. When discussing these matters, interesting ideas may come to your mind as well. Having high awareness does not condemn us to absolute loneliness. It simply increases selectivity towards people like ourselves. When we find people similar to us, we do not feel lonely. What happens is the isolation from society, the loneliness from the average, the loneliness from becoming like everyone else, that is what happens to us. As awareness increases, you move away from the middle ranks, you start getting closer to people like yourself, thus, friendships and relationships become much stronger and more sincere. But because people love to generalize, when they look from a distance and see fewer people around you, they label you as lonely. However, the truth is that the person, recognizing value, intentionally distances themselves from the unquestioning crowd. People with high awareness can be selective in the communication that high awareness friendships bring about. They can think, judge, analyze, and see the absurdities. They can perceive that crowds have turned the world into a madhouse. Therefore, when you surround yourself with people who understand you, comprehend your awareness, and show you respect, there is no decline in your solitude, because a person with high awareness only provides benefits to the awareness of another high-aware person, not harm. To be alone with such a person can open up your perceptions together. Therefore, a person's increasing awareness and loneliness are related to giving up hope for the outside. When there is awareness, you start to avoid placing yourself in bad environments. Thus, the loneliness brought by awareness is the act of cutting hope from the average, cutting hope from bad people. In my opinion, such loneliness adds a lot to a person. Initially, you gain selectiveness, start questioning, and your mind wants to walk alone. Therefore, your truths and falsehoods are now your own, and you don't buy packaged programs. You clearly understand which style of people and environments will suit you better. I had a friend in the opposite situation. He was a bit eager to make friends, eager to enter social environments. With the first person he met, he would become so intimate as to share personal details after the first few hours, often right after the first meal. We used to wonder when the first fights, the first major conflicts would happen, and we were almost always right. If you look around, people who can master being alone know what makes them happy and what doesn't better than others. In my opinion, such people are those who know themselves better. When you know yourself better, you know how to value yourself, you know you have worth. You don't need validation from others, you don't need applause from outside. You are already valuable, strong without needing external support. So far, we have been raised to associate loneliness with negative things through series, movies, and advertisements. Sometimes, even our parents would grab us by the arm and say, "Go, play with your friends," as they ushered us out the door. Well, growing up in a society like this, it's inevitable not to fear loneliness. We have conversations like this precisely for that reason. This is my personal opinion, but, of course, it has very strong foundations. I believe that as people become crowded, they lose their feelings. I think they become mechanized, losing their individual values, and I believe that people's self-worth decreases. The more crowded a group is, the less value the individuals in that group have on their own. The more an individual is alone, the stronger their individual value. Take a look at the list of the world's most livable cities. There are no cities with a population greater than 1 to 2 million in the top 10 because such cities cannot be manageable. Look at the most livable countries. The likelihood of countries with a population of 10 to 20 million or more having high social standards is very low. Now, let's look at the situation from a very interesting perspective. We mentioned awareness. We said that as awareness increases, loneliness increases. So, who is the person with the highest awareness? Who is the most aware person? What is the one thing in the entire universe that is the most aware? There is a saying in our culture that loneliness is unique to God. In fact, this is not only in our culture, it is a widely known concept worldwide. I believe this proposition is correct because everything is so aware that it is not possible for something to exist at its level. Therefore, absolute loneliness applies only to him. As people's awareness increases, it may seem like they become more isolated. However, absolute loneliness is not possible for us. We can only perceive ourselves as lonely because humans cannot be completely alone. They cannot be fully aware of everything. Sometimes, what puts us in a depressive state is the lack of either our loneliness, our awareness, or someone to share our loneliness with. As a person's awareness increases, meaning their loneliness actually increases, I believe we agree that these are parallel progressing elements. Whether it is an increase in divinity or spirituality, I'm not sure of the correct word, but I can confidently say that the depth of awareness increases. So, what happens if a person's awareness decreases in the opposite case? Animality increases. Of course, speaking about loneliness might be easy, and living it might be more challenging, but have you ever considered that we might fear loneliness as a monster? Train yourself to not consider spending time with yourself as loneliness, as Andrei Tarkovsky suggests. I agree, absolutely. Because if a person doesn't know how to spend time with themselves, I believe they won't know how to spend time with others. No matter where in the world you are watching this video, please stop seeing awareness as a burden. Don't label the entire process you're going through as people excluding or not loving you. Please, you are inherently unique. Even if you are sometimes just a leaf fluttering in the wind, never forget that you are a part of a vast tree. So, even when you are alone, you cannot truly be lonely. Because distancing yourself from harm is not loneliness, it is a virtue to stay away from the wicked. Loneliness is not a flaw, it is a virtue to be alone, and it is much better than having a wrong heart or being in the company of a wrong heart. Dear viewers, we have come to the end of our video, and please don't forget to subscribe. Since we have come together on a journey of awareness, let's also share this loneliness and not leave each other alone. In a few days, we will meet again in another video where we will talk about beautiful things. Take very good care of yourselves.